Okay, so we're on the final countdown. It's the final video for this sequence series. If you've made it this far, awesome. If you've struggled with any of the steps so far, I really encourage you to go back and watch the specific videos for those steps. Sometimes it helps to see the same thing twice or even three times to really have it sink in, because this has got a lot of new stuff that you're learning in this assignment, and it's really going to help you out in your future assignments throughout the rest of the term. And so it's really important that you understand all these concepts and that you can make them work. So if there's any of the steps that you're struggling with, make sure and email me and ask questions in class. And today I'm just going to show you how to kind of do the finishing touches on your project and then turn it in. So at this point you should have drums that you've programmed, at least 3 patterns, and then you've sequenced your pattern across the span of 32 bars or 32 measures. You've brought in some samples, at least 3, and you've got at least 3 audio effects that you have used in your project somehow. Now, of course, you can use more on any of those. Any of you guys that want to, try out using more effects or incorporate some more samples in your playing, you can definitely do that. But these are just the minimum requirements that I'm showing you right now. So the final step is really just to make some adjustments to your mix, and this is, maybe is going to be more needed for some people than others. It depends a lot on all of your samples. And what I mean by mixing is adjusting your levels on different things. Some of these sounds are going to come in and they're going to be very loud. Some are going to be more quiet. And to kind of balance that all out so that it feels right and sounds right is really important. And there's a couple different ways you can mix. First of all, I just wanted to remind you that on these samples, there is a volume control right on the device itself, that you can turn that sample up or down right on the device. So that's handy. And remember also, you can change this balance knob, will change if you're hearing it more out of the right ear or the left ear, and that can be a good thing to kind of change up between the sounds so they're not all coming at you from the same direction, right? But there is also, that's the whole purpose of this big thing that we've kind of been ignoring up until this point. That's what all these fancy knobs do on this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this thing up close and center so we can really see what's going on with it. And let's start out by the bottom. We'll kind of start from the bottom of the board and work up. So these very bottom here, I've got an M and an S button. That stands for mute and solo. So if I ever wanted to just turn off a track for a minute, like if I just didn't want to hear the drums for a second, I could just mute it right like that and then play and we'd hear everything but the drums. Likewise, if I only wanted to hear the drums, then I could solo the drums, and that kind of effectively mutes every other track if you got something soloed. So those are those 2 buttons. Right up from that is this fader knob, and this will adjust the volume of that sample. So this is a really good kind of one-stop shopping place to do all of your mixing, because you've got all your sounds right here, and you can really quickly, again, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like, let's say this Rhodes loop is coming in too loud. I'll just come in and just turn that down just a little bit, right? Maybe that one turned down a little bit too. Maybe my drums are coming in a little bit too loud, and so I'll bring those down a little bit. I'll push play on my track in just a little bit, and I just want you to watch. Up here are some meters actually where you can see how loud your sound is. But I'm going to push play, but I'm going to turn my speakers down so I can talk over it. Let's start from the very beginning though. So these are my levels right here, and you can see kind of where you're at. If it gets too loud, it'll get close to these red lights right here. And if you get all the way to these red lights, then they'll actually turn on, and that'll let you know that you went too far and you're adding distortion to your mix. If I turned everything up, you can see that some of those red lights are turning on, right? And that's something that happens often, especially once we start adding effects, because the effects will raise the volume quite a bit, right? So sometimes when I'm adding effects, I will turn down the sample up here too, just to help kind of counteract whatever the effect is doing. But like I say, this is kind of one-stop shopping down here. You can do all of your mixing right here. You can adjust all the levels. Okay. Also, right up above all of your levels are pan knobs, and the panning is which ear it's coming out of. So you can also do all of your panning adjustments right here. Drums I usually like to keep center, but maybe it might be cool to kind of have these Rhodes sounds come out of different speakers a little bit more. If you go all the way hard one way, you'll only hear it in just your left ear right now. If I go all the way to the other side, you'll only hear it just in your right ear. Which can kind of be a cool effect too. But I'm just going to kind of do it subtly, just so when these different keyboard parts happen, that it sounds like they're coming out of slightly different directions. It'll give a little bit more space in the mix. And that's all there is to mixing. There's a whole bunch of other knobs up here, and I'm not really going to explain them at all in detail. These aux 1 and 2 knobs, don't even mess with those because they're not going to do anything for you right now. You have to hook something up to those to make them work. But right up above, you've got low, mid, and high, and that's just like an EQ on your car stereo. So if you want more low frequencies on your drums, then you can turn those up. If something's too boomy, like you bring in a bass and it's just too boomy, you can maybe turn the lows down a little bit, or turn the highs up to kind of counteract it. Again, anytime you're turning something up or boosting, look at your levels up here and make sure you don't have any red lights coming on, because that's a good sign that you're just causing distortion at that point. Okay. And that's mixing. So once everything is looking good and sounding good like you want, I really strongly recommend that you go back to the rubric, the assignment, and make sure you did everything, right? So go through step 1. Did you create an Audiotool project? Yes, you did. That's what I've been doing this whole time. You named it. You invited me to collaborate, right? And then scrolling down, we did the Machinist. Are there 5 samples loaded with the Machinist? 3 drum patterns. Change the tempo. There's so many little steps here. You might have forgotten one, right? And so if you get to something, you're like, oh, whoops, I did forget to change the tempo. Come back, and let's remember that it can't be on 120. So I'm going to change it to 119 just to show me that you do know how to find that BPM and where it's at. So little things like that, just make sure you go through the whole assignment. And then the good news is you've already invited me to collaborate, so I can check out your project and see where you're at, and if you're missing anything, I can make some real quick recommendations. If you want to publish your project, this is not required for this assignment, but if you hit publish, it'll share it with the Audiotool community, and it'll be officially listed on your page as a track that you've created. So if you created something that you think, oh, this is really cool, I want to share this with some other people, publish it. And you can invite other people in the class if you know what their usernames are to check out your project. Just be careful, because people that you invite, and if you list them as an editor, they can come in and change things, right? So be careful about how you invite. Make sure you trust them not to mess with your stuff. And then when you go to turn it in, real easy, just come back to Canvas here, and this is the link for the assignment right here, Audiotool Sequencer Project. So I'm going to click on that, submit assignment, and you can see right here it says, when you're finished with this project, make sure you invited me to be an editor on your project tool, and then just type your Audiotool username in the text box below. So my Audiotool username is Fast Forward Music, and boom, done. Submit assignment, and then I'll get a little note that says that you turned that in, and then I'll go to Audiotool and check it out and leave you some notes on how it looks. Again, email with any questions, and I wish you guys luck, and I can't wait to hear what you guys come up with. This is such a cool assignment.